The sun peeked through the sprawling vineyards of Napa Valley as the Johnson family pulled into the driveway of their luxury resort. It was supposed to be a simple, peaceful getaway, a rare moment for Irvin Magic Johnson, his wife Cookie, their son EJ, and a couple of close friends to unwind. The sound of laughter echoed as EJ, always the vibrant spark of the group, cracked another joke about his dad's inability to fully disconnect from work. Magic smiled, wrapping an arm around Cookie's shoulder. All right, no phones today, just family." As the bellhop unloaded their luggage, a hotel staff member briskly approached the family. He held a cream-colored envelope in his hands, worn on the edges as if it had traveled a long way. "Mr. Johnson," the man said, slightly out of breath, "this was left at the front desk for you. No name, no return address. They insisted it was urgent." Magic's brow furrowed. "For me. Here." He took the envelope cautiously. His name was written in perfect cursive, Irvin Johnson, Jr. Not Magic, not any public title. Only people from his earliest past ever used that name. Curiosity mixed with caution as he flipped it over, breaking the seal. Inside, a single sheet of paper, a few handwritten lines. "There is something you deserve to know. Come to 48117 Willow Creek Drive before Sunday. No media, no entourage, just you and the truth." His hands tightened around the paper. Cookie, noticing the sudden change in his expression, stepped closer. "What is it, baby?" she asked gently. Magic didn't answer immediately. Instead, his eyes scanned the paper again, trying to connect the dots. His memory raced. The address wasn't familiar, the handwriting wasn't either, but the tone, it was personal. If you love powerful emotional stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more incredible narratives, EJ chimed, trying to lighten the mood, but even he could tell something serious was unfolding. Magic folded the paper slowly. I don't know. Someone wants me to go somewhere, says it's something I deserve to know." Cookie's face shifted from curiosity to concern. "Is it a threat?" "No," Magic shook his head. "No, it doesn't feel like that. It's different." He showed her the note. Her eyes scanned the words quickly, then looked up at him with a mixture of worry and support. "Do you have any idea who sent this?" "Not a clue, but whoever it is, they know me. The real me." EJ, trying to mask his growing anxiety with humor, said, "Well, Dad, maybe it's someone trying to recruit you back to the Lakers. I mean, stranger things have happened." But neither Cookie nor Magic laughed. The weight of unspoken thoughts filled the air. Memories flooded Magic's mind. His childhood in Lansing, Michigan, growing up as Irvin Jr., the son of a hard-working General Motors assembly line worker and a loving mother who kept the house running. He thought about his days of hustle on cracked basketball courts, about the struggles before the fame, before the lights of the NBA. Could this be about something from back then? Some forgotten chapter, some unfinished story? Cookie placed her hand on his. "Whatever this is, we face it together." He nodded, gripping her hand back. "Always." But deep inside, a tremor of fear sparked. What kind of truth would shake the ground beneath a man who had already faced HIV, public scrutiny, and the burdens of superstardom? What could possibly be left, hidden for so long? As the sun continued its descent behind the rolling hills, Magic folded the letter, placed it in his jacket pocket, and whispered, almost to himself, "Looks like this vacation just got interesting." The next morning, Magic sat at the edge of the hotel bed, staring at the note in his hands. The address burned into his mind, 48117 Willow Creek Drive. Cookie stepped out of the bathroom, towel wrapped around her head, catching his distant stare. "You didn't sleep, did you?" she asked softly. He shook his head. "Not really, I can't stop thinking about it. Who would do this? Why now?" Cookie sat beside him, placing her hand on his knee. "There's only one way to find out." A deep sigh escaped him. "Yeah, but what if it's something I'm not ready for?" She squeezed his knee. "We've faced everything together. This won't be any different." By mid-morning, the decision was made. They told EJ they needed to handle something personal, but reassured him it wasn't serious. At least not yet. EJ, sensing the tension, didn't push for answers, but gave them both a warm hug before they left. The drive took them out of the polished vineyards and into the more rugged, less touristy parts of Northern California. Rolling hills turned into narrow highways lined with pine trees. The GPS said it was a 3-hour drive, 3 hours filled with silence, broken only by the occasional sigh or Cookie's hand gently rubbing Magic's back. As the miles passed, Magic's mind wandered back decades. Growing up in Lansing had been simple but tough. His father, Irvin Sr., was a stoic man, dependable, hardworking, but not always forthcoming with his emotions. His mother, Christine, was the heart of the family, warm, nurturing, and strong in her faith. But even in the most loving families, secrets could hide. "I keep wondering," Magic finally said, his voice low. "Why now? Why not years ago? Why wait until I'm grown, successful, married, a father?" Cookie glanced at him, her eyes filled with empathy. "Maybe because now you're strong enough to hear it." They stopped for gas in a small town along the way. As Magic filled the tank, Cookie went inside to grab coffee. Inside the dusty, dimly lit diner attached to the station, an elderly man sat alone at the counter. His eyes followed Cookie as she approached. "You folks passing through?" he asked, voice raspy but kind. "Yeah," Cookie replied with a polite smile. "On a bit of a surprise road trip," the man chuckled. "Ain't that the way life works? Surprises find you whether you're looking or not." She raised a brow, curious. "You sound like you know something about that." He nodded, tapping the counter with a wrinkled finger. "Sometimes the past knocks. You gotta decide whether to open the door or pretend you ain't home." Before she could respond, Magic walked in. The old man's eyes shifted to him. Recognition flickered there, subtle but undeniable. "Well, I'll be," the man murmured. "Irvin Johnson. Thought I'd seen the last of your kind round these parts." Magic stiffened. "Do I know you?" The old man smiled softly, shaking his head. "Not directly. But the roads people travel, son, they cross in ways you don't always see. Some truths wait a lifetime to be told." Magic exchanged a glance with Cookie, tension thickening between them. "Do you know something about this address?" Magic asked cautiously. The old man just stood, dropped a few bills on the counter, and tipped his hat. "All I'll say is, what you find there won't be easy, but it'll be real." As he walked out, Cookie whispered, "That's unsettling." Magic nodded, folding his arms. "Yeah, but I guess we're in it now." They got back in the car. The road stretched ahead, quiet, mysterious, waiting. Neither of them knew what was coming, but one thing was clear. There was no turning back. They arrived just before sunset. The GPS signaled their destination with a soft chime, and the car slowed to a stop in front of a modest one-story home nestled among towering pines. The neighborhood was quiet, the kind where children played freely and neighbors waved at each other from front porches. Magic stared at the house, his heart pounding. It was nothing extraordinary. Beige siding, white shutters, a wind chime swaying in the breeze, and yet it radiated something electric, as though time itself had paused, waiting for him to step forward. Cookie gently touched his arm. "You ready?" He swallowed hard. "No, but let's go." They walked to the front door. Before Magic could knock, it opened slowly, as if the person behind it had been watching, waiting. A woman in her late 50s stood in the doorway. Her short graying curls framed a face that was strikingly familiar. The shape of her eyes, the curve of her chin, the gentle crease of her smile. Magic blinked, stunned. She spoke first. "You look just like him, just like Daddy." The words hit him like a punch to the chest. "I'm Margaret," she said quietly. "Your sister." Magic stood frozen. Cookie gasped softly, her hand instinctively covering her mouth. The air seemed to thicken around them. "Sister?" Magic finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. Margaret stepped aside. "Please, come in. I know you must have 1,000 questions." They entered the house. Inside it was cozy, filled with old photographs, family heirlooms, and the scent of lavender. On the mantel, several black and white photos caught Magic's eye. One showed a much younger version of his father, smiling next to a woman Magic didn't recognize. Margaret's mother, perhaps. "I know this is overwhelming," Margaret said as they sat in the living room, "but I've waited a long time for this moment. I've always known about you." "How?" Magic asked, still in shock. Margaret's voice trembled. "Our father, Irvin Sr., was with my mom before he met yours. I was born first. He left before I could walk. I was just a baby, but my mom never hid the truth from me. She said he had another life, another family. I grew up watching you on TV, reading about you, cheering for you, but I was told never to reach out. That it would cause trouble." Cookie's eyes glistened with tears. "Oh my God," Margaret nodded. "I never wanted to cause pain, but after Mama passed last year, I found letters from him to her, including one with this address." I knew then it was time. Magic rubbed his face, trying to process it all. I don't know what to say. I never knew. He never said anything. I believe you, Margaret said gently. I'm not angry. Not with you. But with him. Magic's voice trailed off. His mind was a storm, memories of his father's strict rules, his pride in family, his silence on anything that felt too personal. This secret, this sister, didn't fit the image of the man he thought he knew. Cookie took his hand. You're not alone, baby. We'll face this. Margaret's eyes filled with tears. I didn't reach out for money or fame. I just wanted to know you, even if only once. Magic looked at her, really looked, and felt something unexpected. Compassion, maybe even a flicker of connection. You're not a stranger anymore, he said quietly. For the first time, Margaret smiled fully, and Cookie, unable to hold back, wept openly beside him. Not from sadness, but from the enormity of the moment, a chapter long hidden, finally read aloud. After the initial shock faded, the evening unfolded slowly, filled with long pauses and cautious exchanges. Margaret moved with grace, offering them tea and homemade biscuits while sharing fragments of her life. Magic listened, torn between disbelief and reluctant acceptance. There was a gentleness in her voice, something that reminded him of his own mother, a shared resilience born from silence and sacrifice. Later that night, alone in the guest bedroom Margaret offered them, Magic sat on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, staring at the contact that had anchored his whole life. Dad. His thumb hovered, then tapped. The phone rang. Once. Twice. Hello, came the familiar deep voice of Irvin Sr., aged but unmistakable. It's me, Magic said. A pause. I know, son. What's wrong? I met Margaret. Silence. I got a letter. I came to 48117 Willow Creek. I met her. More silence, then a heavy sigh. She told you? She told me everything, Magic said, his voice tightening. Why didn't you? His father exhaled slowly. Because I was ashamed. Because I was young and scared. Because I made a mistake I thought I could leave behind. She's not a mistake, Magic replied, the edge in his voice rising. She's my sister. I know, his father said quietly. And not a day goes by that I don't carry that weight. There was pain in his words, but Magic had carried his own pain for decades, through public diagnosis, personal trials, and the endless expectations of being Magic Johnson. She watched me grow up on TV, Magic continued. She cheered for me while I didn't even know she existed. That's not fair. No, it's not, Irvin Sr. admitted. And I'm sorry. I thought I was protecting your mother, your siblings, the life we built, but maybe I was just protecting myself. Magic closed his eyes, tears slipping down his cheeks. I'm not calling to hate you, Dad. I'm calling because I needed to hear it from you. I'm glad you called, his father said, voice breaking. You deserve the truth. When he hung up, Cookie pulled him close. That took strength. I'm proud of you. He kissed her forehead. I'm just trying to do right by the people I love, all of them. The next morning, Margaret invited them to a backyard breakfast. There, under a wooden pergola wrapped in ivy, stood people Magic had never seen, and yet somehow felt connected to. Margaret introduced them one by one. Her daughter Simone, an art teacher in Sacramento, her son James, a youth basketball coach, and her grandchildren, two bubbly girls who looked at Magic like they were meeting royalty. I've told them about you their whole lives, Margaret said, smiling shyly. They've always called you Uncle Magic, even if you didn't know it. His heart swelled. For so long he'd believed his story was fully written, a closed book of triumphs and trials. But now new pages were unfolding, filled with laughter, stories, and tears. They ate, talked, and shared stories from different sides of the same bloodline. Cookie, radiant with emotion, hugged Simone like an old friend. EJ, who had driven up that morning after a call from his mum, joined the gathering with his signature flair, making everyone laugh with stories of his dad's quirks and charm. By noon, the backyard rang with joy. There was no awkwardness, only a tentative but powerful sense of unity, like broken glass pieces finding their way into a beautiful mosaic. As the sun climbed high, Magic pulled Margaret into a quiet hug. Thank you for not giving up on me. She smiled through tears. You were never lost to me. The next day, the Johnsons packed up their bags, preparing to leave Margaret's home and return to their original vacation plans. But something had shifted, not just in the itinerary, but in the very fabric of their family. The past 48 hours had altered the way Magic saw his world. A sibling he never knew existed, a truth buried deep beneath years of silence, had now become a living part of his story. Magic stood in the driveway, watching as Margaret helped her granddaughters load toys into the car. He smiled, heart full. It wasn't the polished, glitzy love he had grown used to in public life. It was raw, honest, real. "Part of me still feels like this is a dream," he said to Cookie, who came to stand beside him. "It's not," she said, wrapping her arm around his. "And you handled it with more grace than I've ever seen." He looked at her, his eyes shining. "I couldn't have done it without you." Cookie smiled, eyes damp. "That's what love is for." They hugged Margaret goodbye, this time with no hesitation, no lingering awkwardness. She gave Magic a small framed photo before he got in the car. It was of their father, holding her as a baby. On the back, her mother's handwriting, "For Margaret with love. He gave you life, but God gave you strength." He held it close, nodding. Before they drove off, Margaret leaned in through the window. "Don't be a stranger now. We've got years to catch up on." "You've got my word," Magic replied. "We're family." As they drove away, the car was quiet for a moment. A peaceful silence, not the heavy kind. Magic looked at EJ in the back seat, who had his earbuds in, watching something on his phone, probably already planning how he'd tell the whole tale on social media in his signature EJ style. Cookie glanced at Magic. "So, what now?" He thought for a moment. "Now we live better, wiser, fuller. I've always believed family was everything. But now I understand it's not just about who you grow up with. It's also about who you're willing to make space for." She reached for his hand. "That's a beautiful answer." As they crossed the state line heading back toward Napa, the vineyards seemed to greet them again, but this time with softer light, gentler shadows. The trip they had originally planned was no longer the highlight. What they found along the detour, that was the real destination. Later that evening, back at the resort, the family sat by the fire pit. EJ finally pulled his earbuds out. "So, when are we inviting Margaret and the crew to Thanksgiving?" Magic chuckled. "Already thinking ahead, huh?" "Always." EJ grinned. "Besides, they sound like the kind of people who bring real mac and cheese." Laughter broke out among them, and for the first time in days it was light, free of burden. As the fire crackled and stars emerged in the sky, Magic looked around and thought of everything they'd gained. Not fame, not trophies, but truth. And truth, he realized, is the foundation of any lasting legacy. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe and check out the video on screen for another inspiring journey you won't want to miss. He leaned back, Cookie resting her head on his shoulder, EJ humming some pop tune to himself. And somewhere not far away, a new family bond was forming, born not of blood alone but of forgiveness, courage, and a quiet promise to never again let love go unspoken.